Hey, everybody, and welcome to We Watch TV. It's the podcast about the TV that we watch. I am Daniel. She is Hope. This is episode 85. And did you ever just sit around sometimes and think about how life is meaningless and nothing matters? Such is the life of a WVU fan.
Oh, I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. Where are you going with this? But did you have fun?
No, I didn't. I didn't have fun at all.
According to our coach, it doesn't matter if you lose, but because we have a good tailgating environment. Did you have fun?
This is not a sports podcast, but I'm working this in because one, we did watch it on TV, so it counts technically.
And we did not have fun.
But two, I feel like a really proud teacher. When we were watching the football game this past weekend, and they cut to a blimp shot of the stadium, and you said, "Hey, that's B-roll from another game. That's not today's game."
Yes, I did.
And I'm very proud of you for noticing that, because immediately when I looked, I wasn't really paying that much attention, but as soon as I looked, I was like, you were right. Like, it wasn't Stripe the Stadium, but they were showing a shot of Stripe the Stadium.
Yes, it was Coal Rush.
Yeah.
So while I was having so much fun, enough fun, that I actually noticed that's how much fun I was having.
Well, and then later, I think I made the remark. I was like, well, you know what? We should have known that was B-roll before we even saw the shot. They're not sending a blimp over to West Virginia, Iowa State.
Iowa State's ranked. They're undefeated now, thanks to us. Keeping that up.
Just doing our part. You're welcome, Iowa State. You're welcome.
All that matters is we have fun.
Well, guess what, Neil? I'm not having any fun.
Like the raspy voice kids say, hey, hey, ho, ho.
Neil Brown has got to go.
Got to go.
Hey, so we watched TV. We watched Agatha All Along.
Speaking of fun,
which is actually fun. Agatha All Along.
Very good.
Very good.
Best episode of the season so
best
far.
episode 5.
Didn't get a banger, but huge reveal. And whoever is doing the in-credit music for this show deserves a raise immediately. So just a reminder to you guys, because we just completely dropped the ball and didn't say it beforehand, like we've been trying to do. That's what happens when we're having so much fun watching WVU lose and we don't have show notes. We are a spoiler podcast. We put those little chapter markers on for you guys. So if you want to skip around, feel free to do so. Probably for Agatha, if you're not caught up with us here, we'll be having a supercut sometime in the next coming months after the season ends. So consider this your final warning. Daniel, what was the big reveal?
Teen, as he has been known on the show so far, is actually Billy Maximoff, a.k.a. Wiccan, a.k.a. Wanda, Scarlet Witch's son.
Yes. And I believe in that scene that the sigil was lifted when Agatha got Alice's powers. I think there's a part where you can see Agatha pointing her hand kind of at her forehead, and then she sort of looks up and she's like, what does she say? You're just like your mother. And then he was like, oh, really? And like sticks Agatha's behind in the mud, pushes her down in the mud. I don't know what he had against Jen and like the other one, Patti LuPone's character. Is it Lila?
I don't know.
Something like that. So they're
Don't
in
ask
the
me
mud.
about names, songs, etc. We'll get to that in a second.
Yeah, they're in the mud too. And then you see the crown form on Teen's head, very similar to the one Wanda wore, with the Billie Eilish. So Billy for Billy, you should see me in a crown. And I was talking about all week long after the episode. So Agatha airs on Wednesday. So Thursday, Friday, I'm just talking about how great of a song that was. Perfect song choice. I'm sending Daniel edits. We're talking about it. He's like, yeah, that was a really cool scene. And then on Saturday, we're coming back from Target. And I'm playing some, music on my phone. And I'm like, ooh, I'm like into this song again right now because of that scene. And I have Agatha in my head. And Daniel goes, wait a minute. He's like, I thought that she said, you should see me in a crowd. But I always thought that was weird that was the lyrics. And I'm like, did you not understand? Like, the crown showed up on Billy's head as that part of the line.
Made a whole lot more sense after you told me that was what the lyric actually said.
Because you were
so
already
much more
thinking it
sense.
worked.
Yeah.
So sing it. Are you going to sing it or do you want me to sing it?
What, you should see me in a crowd?
In a crowd.
I always was really perplexed. I have heard this song before. Like, I'm familiar with Billie Eilish.
Song.
I like the song. And I was always very perplexed, like, what is the meaning behind that? Because it seems really, like, kind of malicious.
Yeah.
And then to find out it's just a
Crown.
It's crown. It's not the first time I've done this. It certainly won't be the last. I have no idea how many other songs am I incorrect? Because that song's not named that, right?
I think it is.
Oh, I mean, that's even worse.
Yes, I just checked. That is the name of the song. You should see me in a crown. Not crowd. Crowd does sound very
You should see
menacing.
me in a crowd.
So, but like the whole time I'm sending you the edits where the crown is appearing on his head, and you were just like, I think you were like, oh, the Billy for Billy song. That was a cool scene. And I'm like, no, the crown. Again, great. You know, speaking of lyrics where things screwed up, the one that I can always think of, and the woman's own mother used to think this is what she said, Taylor Swift's, like, get a list of my ex-lovers. They'll tell you, like, I'm insane. I used to think that she said, I've got a list of Starbucks lovers. And her mom thought she said Starbucks,
okay,
too.
so that's not what... There's another one right there. So that's not what that lyric said?
It's like something...
I never knew what a Starbucks lover was.
I just rolled with it.
But, like,
her own mom was like... It was like a whole joke back in the day.
Because like, what's it... I can't see Taylor Swift meeting people at Starbucks. That doesn't check out.
Probably at least not now because she's so famous. What about Hold Me Close, Young Tony
I know that
Danza?
one. I'm not an idiot.
What about the blue song that I'm blue, da-ba-dee? I used to think it said, I'm blue, I'm in need of a guy.
They don't say anything, right?
I know, they're just
going
like
da-ba-doo-ba-doo-ba-doo.
mumbling stuff.
All right.
Da-ba-dee-ba-da-da.
Okay.
There's probably like a whole like...
Hey,
list.
everybody, if you've got some songs out there that you've done this with, just hit us up on fan mail, let us know, and we will happily laugh at you or admit that we thought that as well, because it seems like I'm a mark for most of these.
Most likely. But anyway, back to that episode. Poor Alice. I knew that she was going to be gone because I had seen the leaks, but I didn't think it'd be so soon.
Yeah. I feel like we'll see her again. Even like, I think she's dead. But I think we will see her again in this.
We better at the
series
end of the
finale.
road.
Yeah.
I'll see you at the end. I need that to pay off.
I need to round back around to the mud, to the
Round
quick
back around.
sound, and just say that like this show was like giving off millennial coded fears. Like we were all very terrified. We all thought quicksand was going to be a much bigger problem.
I was
than it
very
has turned
scared
out
of
to be.
that. I was scared of black holes and the Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah. Oh, the Bermuda Triangle was terrifying. Like don't get anywhere in there.
Very much freaked me out.
Turns out like it's pretty easy to avoid because it's just the ocean.
I guess. I don't know. Let's get back to the episode. How each episode has a different aesthetic. This was like 80s sleepover vibes. And they did the Ouija board. Loved that.
Is it okay? I've always heard people say Ouija board, but then I've always seen it.
This is why I need show notes.
Then I've always seen it spelled with an There's no W in there anywhere.
Like a Ouija board.
So I always thought like it was a nickname for it or something. So it's Ouija board, but it's just spelled that way.
I guess so.
All right.
I don't know. But
I've never used one myself, so.
Back to the 80s aesthetic. Well, you've never been to slumber party before. At least with girls. I don't.
True.
I can't even think. Anyway, I heard that while Catherine Hahn was doing the part where she imitated Sharon, Mrs. Hart, that Aubrey Plaza and I think it was the boy that plays Billy, that you can see them both like trying not to laugh in the scene. So I went and looked at it, and you can tell that they're like, because that's just spot on impression. But it turns out that was just Agatha messing with everybody, and it's Agatha's mommy, ghost mean lady mommy, who was like, you were evil since the moment you were born. So that was kind of a bummer. Obviously, Agatha has mommy issues.
Yeah, I saw somebody on TikTok. They did the mommy issues sound bite from Umbrella Academy, but over all the people from Agatha, and it fit really well. It was very good.
It did fit very well. So she also has the Salem 7 after her. What I think we discovered, though, about Agatha's powers is it looked to me like, obviously we know when she started the road, she gets, if somebody uses power against her, she absorbs it. That's why Agatha's so
Right.
powerful. I feel like, though, in that moment when Alice used her power to save Agatha because Agatha's mother was trying to possess Agatha, I feel like Agatha could not control it. And I'm thinking that might be what kind of went down like back in Salem a long time ago. Like once it happens, she's like, oh, because she kind of like, everyone was really shocked and she seemed almost shocked.
Yeah, she did.
So I do think, though, when the sigil was lifted, when she got that power, that's when she figured out who Teen was. My question is, when she said, you're just like your mother, did that lift it for Teen, or has Billy known the whole time and been playing everybody? What do you think?
I think there was a sigil on him. Who put that sigil on him? Did he put it on himself? I don't know, but I think that prevented him from actually knowing what was going on until that moment. Until
she knew?
Yeah.
So you don't think he's been playing everybody?
I feel like there was a line earlier in the season that basically was like a sigil can be broken once somebody else finds out who you are the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, I think I'd be a little annoyed if he had known the whole time, because I do feel like he is a genuine character, but now all bets are off. Like, and if he has been playing them the whole time, he's done a darn good job at it. I'm of the belief that I think he might have put the sigil on himself because he knew that in order to really get to Agatha, he couldn't reveal too much either. Because obviously they say, did you watch it? Did you watch the TikTok I sent you that had the preview of the next episodes of the season? I
did. Okay. There's a lot of that is a meaty trailer for the rest of the season. Like, there is a lot in there.
If you had any questions at all that it was Billy, as in Wanda's son, they completely answer that. They have like, so what do you want? What does you want from the road? And he basically says like, I don't want power. I want something different, which I think is either to find Wanda, his mother, or possibly his brother, Tommy.
Yeah, it's one of those two, I'd say. You have to think Billy would have, if Tommy is out, if that whatever happened, which the trailer didn't explain, so we don't really know what happened there. But if he got ejected out of the town, Westview, you got to think his brother did.
Well, what a lot of people think is that Billy Kaplan was the one that was driving the car. He wrecked his car right outside of Westview, and in that moment that he wrecked his car and is presumably dead, that's when Wanda did the thing, and the soul of Billy, as in Wanda and Vision's son, went into Billy Kaplan. That's what the big theory is online, and I could see that playing out. I love talking about this show with my nephew because sometimes Daniel's just not into all the TikToks and all the edits, and we have like, so my nephew and I have like weekly like debriefings, and my sister was like, so it's you that's keeping him up on a school night. I'm like, oh, well, maybe not, but like we have to like piece together all the possible theories. I do think you're right, though. I think we will see Alice again, possibly her mother, but she won't be. I don't think she's coming back to life.
No, I don't think so. I think we'll get a wrap up and a happy end to her story, but I don't think we'll see her.
I need to know why Billy put the other two witches in the mud, though, when he was mad. Like, why did he react that way? They weren't really doing anything.
It's a good question. I think it will probably be answered.
See, another theory was that they were still all possessed by the ghosts in that last little trial, and that they weren't acting like themselves. I'm not really sure about that. The next episode looks to have a very Wizard of Oz-like theme, which I'm excited for.
I feel like he possessed the two. I feel like they gave us enough on screen to show that he clearly possessed those two to have them do what they were doing.
Do we think Nicholas Scratch is one of the members of the Salem 7?
I don't know.
Because what it was that Agatha let like the kids live or something, and they said that's part of it. And she's like, just a reminder, finish the job each time. I did like her little quip when they were like, oh, we need to torture Agatha. That must be the trial. And she's like, this is why I don't have female friends. So just again, I feel like for me, best show since Loki and WandaVision era.
Oh, easily. Probably up there. Like I'd say Loki, WandaVision, this are the best things that Marvel has done on TV. I haven't hated anything that they've done on the TV except for probably Secret Invasion.
Yeah, that fell off.
Like a lot of people seem to just hate everything, but whatever. I don't have the energy to get into that Marvel rant again today.
Well, you know what rant I have the energy to get into?
Let me hear it.
Netflix. Stop doing the half-season dumps and then making us wait. This is our quarterly
You said
reminder. Nice. This is what happens when I don't prepare show notes. We just go completely off script. So anyway, I watched the first 5 episodes in basically an evening, and then watched the next one the next evening. After I had so much fun watching that WVU game, watching WVU lose, then I watched the final episode of the first half of Outer Banks season 4.
I'm supposed to take me home, Zombie, or bring it home, Zombie.
I thought you were gonna queue up right in there. You always do.
I'm not. I'm trying to be on the other side of that show.
That show that you've watched 2 seconds of.
Yeah.
Anyway, I feel like they listened to some of the complaints from season 3, and I appreciated that. Season 3, the gang, the group, the Pogues, they were separated. They had a lot of separate little storylines going on, and that was annoying because they are best when they are a cohesive cast together. Very similar to Only Murders. You want that trio together. You want these cast of, they call them Pogues, like the poor people.
I don't care. I don't want to know why they call them
rich
that.
people.
I don't want to know. You know what? Netflix did listen to my complaint about the show, and because it's got a 4th season.
Oh, don't be a hater for a show you don't even watch.
Oh, it's so easy.
Do I hate on Doctor Who? I know you don't watch that either. But
Go ahead. I don't watch Doctor Who.
I can't really think of anything you
Jump
watch.
in there. That's right. What did you just say? Wait. Repeat what you just said. You can't think of what?
Anything that you watch that I don't watch.
Okay.
I can't really think of it.
Who's got the good taste now?
Or you just play video games when you're not watching TV.
That's accurate.
That's very accurate. But this season, I felt like was better than season 3. Again, I don't really remember why. Thank goodness for that recap. Like I said in the last podcast, I don't remember a ton of season 3 because I was full blown out of it with the vid and a terrible fever. So I just remembered bits and pieces. So thankfully, they gave me a really good recap, and I'm like, oh, I forgot that happened. I had almost forgotten that they jumped ahead 18 months, and they kind of caught us up to what had happened in the 18 months. I know that they wanted to make a season 4, and to have season 4, they had to basically go broke again. So they had discovered the El Dorado Gold City or whatever it was called at the end, and they all made their little portions of their money that they got to keep from finding that. But then it turns out they end up basically blowing it super fast because they are 19-year-old kids, and they have this auction that they want to go to buy JJ's house because his house was there was doing an estate sale on it because JJ really doesn't have parents, or so we think. And they were trying to go low on the price, and they end up basically JJ got excited and just put on almost all their money on it. So they had to make the kids poor again, so they would want to go after their offer to find the Blackbeard treasure. Yes.
I have a question about the treasure the El Dorado treasure that they found.
Yeah, the city of El Dorado or something.
They got their piece, so they made their money off the treasure itself, or they got a reward from somebody.
They found it, and then they reported it, and then they got portions of it. I don't think that's how it'd work in real life either, but
okay.
we're just gonna roll with it.
You can't just take gold up to the bank.
Yes, they told them that they found it. They discovered it.
Who's them?
I don't know, the state?
Okay.
You are getting in way too many. If you think of all these details on the show, it's just not happening.
That's why I don't watch the show.
I guess not, even though you would like it. So anyway, they had to give them some reason to go after the Blackbeard money or whatever. Well, we find out that along with this, wanting this Blackbeard thing that they want to discover. Again, I just still don't really understand what they're after here. And there's other people after it too, but they talk to this creepy old dude who invited him over to their island, and he's talking about the curse. Then we find out that his daughter had somehow touched this amulet that Blackbeard had, and that's why his daughter and her baby died. Wink wink baby. And I'm interesting. And then you had seen this man zoom in on JJ's picture, and I'm I bet you anything the mom that died was JJ's actual birth mother. We've never known about her. And otherwise, why was he being so creepy with JJ? We've never known about that. Turns out I am correct. I called that one. I feel like it wasn't, if you didn't guess that one, where have you been? The only part of that I found surprising was I thought the mom had, stepped out and, hooked up with JJ's dad, and it turns out the creepy guy that's trying to kill Grandpa, and I might think he might be responsible for the wife's death, is JJ's birth dad. So, what are we going to do here? I've heard some possible spoilers for the back half of this season, and if what happens, I'm going to be mad. But so far, I'm enjoying it. Ship-wise, I like that we have. I like that I seem to be rooting for all the canonic ships, which is very nice. JJ and Key are my favorite ship. They're still together. A lot of people were really worried they might not be together. They still are. They're just going at a different pace. It's fine. I think JJ is going to be the star of the second half of the season. Not so much John B, because we have this whole like reveal of his parentage. Just again though, 5 episodes, zoom totally through it. I'm so annoyed that I have to wait a month for more, and Netflix needs to cut it out. They need to cut it out. Cut the crap.
You mentioned a curse.
Yeah, that's like part of it.
Is this show supernatural at all, or is that just like people
I think
being
they've
weird?
added that element now. They're like, oh, that this is cursed. Like, is it?
So
is
like
it
it's
really
actually cursed.
We don't know.
Okay.
It's like the big rumor that's why this like lady died, because it was cursed. And like JJ turns out to be like the baby that's been missing.
Okay. So it maybe actual supernatural stuff is happening here. Probably not.
I don't know. It's
Has
a
it
show
been-
where they hunt for treasure.
Has it been that way? Has there been any supernatural elements to it whatsoever up until this point?
I don't think so.
So it's probably not an actual curse. It's just
I don't
people
know.
being people.
You never know. People are terrible.
Okay. What are we talking about next, since we have no show notes whatsoever?
Well, we had an old familiar face show up on Frasier.
Oh, that's right.
Frasier's agent, still his agent, BB. And I know we talked about how Perry Gilpin stepped in perfectly as Roz. I don't think I've ever seen a character step in and feel like nothing has changed since like the 90s, early 2000s than when this woman showed up in her first scene as Frasier's agent.
Yeah, I will also compliment the actress was great, but the writing was on point for that character as well. Like, it just felt exactly like it was on the original Frasier.
100%. So they had a whole mess around about like that they had, because they kept referencing the time that she and Frasier hooked up, which they never really referenced in the actual Frasier after the initial episode. And we're like, oh, they're going to try to make him think that her daughter is his daughter as a ploy and mess with him. And of course it worked.
Of course it did.
Because Frasier is
He
so
never
easily
learns.
manipulated.
He always, he's easily manipulated by that stuff, and he falls for it.
This season, I agree with you. It is so much better than the first season. It feels more like the old Frasier with the humor.
I mean, again, it feels like the old Frasier. It's not there.
It's never going to be
still
there.
lacking, but it feels more like it. It feels like if they could have gotten season 1 to feel like this, I feel like we would have a much better overall take on the series so far.
And I know it's like beating a dead horse at this point, but in my opinion, no matter how hard they try, unless you get David Hyde Pierce to come in and be Niles, it's never going to feel the same.
Sure. Yep. I agree with that. So
other shows that are back that I can remember, Abbott Elementary is back. It was a fine episode. I know that's not your favorite show. It's a show you'll watch, but it's not your favorite. You're on the other side of it.
every time I watch it, like, I'm entertained by it, but it's not like knee slapping funny to me. I don't know what if I'm missing something. It's just not like there's funny elements to it, but it's just
Part of it is I think you've never worked with children before, so you don't get that side of it, whereas I do.
Blessed.
And I thought it was really funny though how like Janine and Gregory were trying to like keep their romance a secret. That is a trope that I hate. Let's see, Nick and Jess did it on New Girl. Pam and Jim, I think, did it for a while on The Office. Monica and Chandler. And I can't stand it because all it comes off to me is, wow, you guys really think a lot about yourselves. When no one really cares.
To the writing team's credit, they subverted it immediately.
They did.
Like, they immediately had everybody else in the cast was like, yeah, we know they're dating.
It kind of, and what I liked about it though was that it kind of drove home like why that trope is annoying. Like, I love New Girl. I think that Nick and Jess were super annoying. Like, yeah, people are going to be like, ugh, at first, but the gang would have gotten over it because I feel like most people could clock that vibe from day one. And, like, Monica and Chandler, yeah, we had a lot of shenanigans with them, but I feel like it just comes off like you think, like, wow, so many people are going to care about this when really not that many people are going to care. And I think they almost played off of, like, a joke within a joke.
Oh, I agree. They definitely, like, all of that stuff, I think, was not just for the story of the show, but also there was some reference to other ways that sitcoms have handled the situation in the past. And they basically just took one episode at the beginning of the season, got it out of the way. So we don't have to worry about it anymore.
I think that you are particularly excited for the announced crossover that
Of
we're getting.
course.
Abbott
They're-
Elementary, Always
Somehow
Sunny.
they're going to do an Abbott Elementary, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia crossover. Both shows are going to have one episode with crossover characters, and that is amazing. I'm interested to see how they work those characters into Abbott Elementary, and I cannot wait to see what they do with those characters from Abbott get to do on It's Always Sunny.
I really need like them all to interact because I need to see Mrs. Howard, Barbara. I need to see like her interact with like Danny DeVito or somebody. And It's Always Sunny. That'll be good. I'm excited for that. I don't know when that's going to air, but we know it's announced. We know it's coming.
Yep, that'll be good.
We also finished Nobody Wants This with Adam Brody and Kristen Bell, and I thought the back half of that was a lot better. Not that I didn't like the first half. I feel like maybe I got to know the characters more, and there was like a really impactful. The episode with her dad, was really impactful. Where you think that she's just at the ick. That's what it was called.
Yep.
And that's the one that got to me because you think that she's maybe upset that her dad is in this new relationship with this man, but that's not what it is. She's upset because he's showing his new partner more affection than he ever showed her or her sister or her mom. And the fact that Adam Brody's character Noah clocked that from the beginning and was willing to be so patient with her, I'm like, that was a really well done episode and really like got me into the show.
I do. I think Adam Brody's character Noah in this show is setting new bars for men to constantly fall short of when it comes to TV men and what we're able to do in the real world, because he's
so empathetic.
He's empathetic.
As a rabbi, though, he probably has
that
training.
Yeah, he's mature. He's got a lot of those qualities and is able to kind of think past the emotional side of things that are difficult for everybody to struggle with in a relationship.
And like some of my complaints about it was I felt like that her character Joanne was trying to change too much for him, but he did ask her to like if she'd ever want to convert, but like she was just sort of like rolling with it and not really letting him know.
Mm-hmm.
And then when she did at the end of the season was like, hey, you're gonna achieve your dream to be a rabbi. She's like, I'm not there yet. I'm not ready to convert. I realized how important this was. And you think they're gonna break up, but then he comes over and he kisses her. So we know we're getting a season 2. I don't know, is he still gonna pursue the dream of being a rabbi, or is he gonna realize maybe, your dream does change when you meet the love of your life? Like, how are they going to show them maybe navigating him, trying to still make his dream come true while she's trying to figure out where she is spiritually? Like,
what do you want them to make it?
I don't know. I mean,
I would like to see it be a situation where he says, we're going to both try and get the best thing, and maybe we don't both achieve it. But we're gonna try. For me, that would be the most satisfying thing. Is neither of them are giving up on their dreams, but they're not giving up on each other either.
Yes, and one of the things that I really liked about what this show did was when there wasn't a lot of drama between them, and when they did have issues, it was normal issues that couples face. Like, she's like, I'm a lot. Like, you're gonna take on this. Like, I do care what people think of me. I want people to like me. And the stumbling roadblocks they have weren't just dramatic TV roadblocks that you see on like dramas or even like comedies. Sometimes it was very real.
No almost
issues.
Pregnancies, no like accidents, life-threatening accidents.
No complete misunderstanding where you don't speak to somebody for like 2 days.
Right.
It was all addressed in a very healthy way. And I will definitely say this, as an Adam Brody fan since the early 2000s, I do love Seth Cohen, but everyone's like, oh, it's basically like Noah is Seth Cohen grown up. I'm going to disagree and say that no.
100% I agree with you.
It's Dave Rogowski from Gilmore Girls, who we sadly did not get on the show long enough, but Dave Rogowski was better than Seth Cohen on every level with empathy and like how he treated Lane. He read the whole Bible for Lane and played verses so he could spend played like music, right? So he could spend the whole day with her at Thanksgiving.
No chance Seth Cohen turns into this Noah character in the future life. I'm not going to say Seth Cohen always remains the most narcissistic person in the world, but there's no way he ends up here. That's not Seth.
People remember Adam Brody for Seth, and that's why they keep making that comparison. Where I'm just like, no, this is Dave Rogowski. But while I love the character of Noah, his brother Sasha, I think is my favorite.
Oh yeah, he's great.
He's like a guy that's sort of oblivious, but also self-actualized in other ways. And he's just funny. And a lot of people online do ship him and the sister. I'm going to say that I would rather that not be a thing because I think that would be such a TV trope.
I ship them. I ship their friendship.
Friendship, yes. I do think that Morgan...
I don't know why I had to do the hand
I don't know why you did
that.
either. I'm just trying to ignore you. I do think that while, like, Morgan might be developing a crush on him, I think it might be because that's the first time she's ever really just connected with a guy on an emotional level. And I hope that that's addressed and they realize, that, hey, this is just friendship. Because he's like, what does he say? She's like, do you have any female friends? He's like, well, I had a friend and then she became my wife and now she doesn't let me talk to other ladies.
Yeah.
And I want Esther, like his wife, who is kind of mean, I want her to eventually start to warm up to the girls a little bit and just kind of be friends with them. That's what I would like to see for season 2.
All right. So here's the question.
Whore number 1 or whore number 2?
No. Which one of the family, of Noah's family, ends up on their podcast first as a guest?
I feel like Sasha would be the main response you would think of, Sasha or Noah, but I would love it if they got his mom.
Oh man, yeah. I gotta think there's a storyline that's gonna try that. I don't know if they'll ever get it to TV, but yeah, her mom on the podcast would be interesting.
Anyway, I'm glad they're making a season 2. I think it's a show that could have ended without a season 2, but I think there's more stories to tell. Good chemistry. It's a nice vibe. The episode length isn't super long. It's not what I would call hysterically funny, but it's not also overly dramatic. It's a nice show to watch, and I'm glad we finished it.
Yeah, I agree. I enjoyed it. I echo your sentiments pretty much to a T.
All right. So since we don't have any other show notes, is there a show that you can think of right now? Oh, I just thought of one. Only Murders in the Building.
Oh, I thought of another one, but yeah, let's do that.
We took a little tripsies to go see Charles's sister, played by Melissa McCarthy. So I instantly knew when I saw her, I was like, well, this episode's going to be good. Because what did she do? She was like making a cocktail for Oliver, and she took vodka and just poured a glass of vodka and put Crystal Light in it.
Yeah.
So basically, they were just drinking a full glass of vodka.
It's like a regular standard, like what you would pull out of your cabinet glass, half up with vodka, and then she just dumps a Crystal Light in it and hands it to him.
Sweaty Betty, that's what she called it or something. So I just knew when they were bringing her on, it was going to be a funny episode. And then like somehow the actors show up there because they figured out that whoever is after them has been after them since season 1, potentially. And they wanted to get away from the city. Like, don't tell anybody, but then everybody knows like where they are.
Everybody ends up knowing, yeah. Because Meryl Streep's character ends up showing up at some point. Like, and then the producer lady is there. Like, everybody is there.
Yeah. Molly Shannon's like little speech about actors.
Yeah, that was great.
Have you seen that where they said Selena Gomez like couldn't stop laughing and you see her character Mabel in the corner like covering her mouth?
Yeah, I saw that. That was awesome.
I think that was Martin Short that plays Oliver that said that like in an interview. He's like, "Oh, we did this scene and that was what they were talking about." So that was funny. Are we still leading with Scott Bakula?
Hey, listen, they've not ruled him out as far as I can tell. Like they have not ruled him out.
All right. So you said you thought of another show.
Well, yeah. So we kind of ran dry this week, and so last night, out of nowhere, you started watching The Rings of Power season 1.
Is it The Rings of Power or Rings of Power?
I think it's The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power.
Okay. I like the edits
that I've
watched on TikTok better.
So you watched
the
first 2 episodes of season 1.
Yes.
Okay.
I like the edits that I've seen better with Galadriel and Sauron. I wish I didn't know like these spoilers, but I feel like I would eventually have figured it out because the guy, the stranger, they're trying to beat you over the head with it that could be Sauron, and I just don't buy it. And then and because I do know, I'm able to, this is the second episode with Halbrand, and he's like, oh, looks can be deceiving. Like, they definitely, like, I feel like for you, going back and rewatching this, you might see some clues sooner. So I feel like I've eventually, do you think I would have eventually figured it out if I hadn't known?
I think you would have figured it out at some point.
And then been heartbroken.
But it is interesting watching back and seeing what things they trickled in there to kind of try and lead you to think that. Because when I was paying attention, I didn't start watching the show when it was coming out on a weekly release, but I was paying attention via Reddit and TikTok and stuff like that. And everybody, and so I do remember people having this conversation about, is this Halbrand guy somebody or is he just Halbrand?
Yeah.
But it was never a conversation about him being Sauron.
I think they intentionally made him look like Aragorn to throw people off the scent. But
yeah, I can see that.
The Halbrand look is very Aragorn coded. I'm going to say this about this show. It could be good, but they are trying to be too, like you said, too Game of Thronesy with different stories everywhere. If they committed to like just a storyline and didn't shoehorn in all this other stuff or just jump between these scenes, like I loved like the opening with like Galadriel and the narration was perfect. Like I'm down with all of her scenes are really good. I like, what is the other guy's name?
Elrond.
Like, I actually like his scenes, except for the one scene with the dwarves, well, they were funny, went on way too long. It's just the jumping back and forth and just throwing. It's like where you throw a lot of stuff at a wall and see what sticks. That's what I feel like they're doing in these first 2 episodes. And from what you told me, they continue to do that. And I think if they just leaned into the stories that they could really tell, this show could be good.
Yeah.
It has just the potential. And from what you've told me and from what I've also looked at myself after the events of season 2, it's time to bring in Galadriel's husband for season 3.
Oh, for sure.
I think you can still lean into that tension with her and Sauron. And guess what? Hey, Tolkien nerds. Hey, book fans. No one cares. If I have to deal with changes in Bridgerton, y'all can deal with some of this and let us have our potential toxic little ship. We know it's not going to happen. We know it's not canon, but it makes good TV because those 2 actors have insane chemistry. So, yeah, do you agree with me as a Tolkien super nerd that it's fine to lean into that, especially if it brings in more of an audience?
Yeah, because this isn't the books. The books are always going to be there, or the original Lord of the Rings movies are always going to be there. This is just other stuff. You can choose to consume it, or you can choose to ignore it. I agree with you. I think, for me, it's the Harfoot storyline. Just totally unnecessary to have them in there. I feel like they felt pressure because of the movies, Lord of the Rings, and how much everybody liked the Hobbits.
Yeah.
That they've got to have some sort of Hobbit presence in this show, and it's totally, because I'll tell you right now where I'm at in season 2, the story of the Hobbits and the Stranger. I'll continue to say that in quotes because I haven't actually seen that episode, but I know what happens. Is completely disconnected from everything else that's going on. Eventually, everything that else is going on is coming together in season 2, but the Harfoots and the Gandalf guy are still just out there doing their own thing. And it's not necessary. You could have trimmed that out and added and molded to a lot of the other storylines, and I think you would have had a much tighter, sharper show, because like you said, you get into something and then all of a sudden, oh, here we are looking at the Harfoots complaining about their carts again, their migration they have to do. It's like, oh.
I think what they tried to do is they tried to give Lord of the Rings something like little fans, like just here's this. Yeah. This is like a Hobbit. Here's this. Here's this. There's this. But when you do that, you don't really fully commit to like your art, your story to tell. And this show, like I said, could be better. And then honestly, if they're going, rather than the jumping around between them, I would almost rather than be like, here's a straight up Galadriel, Halbrand focused episode with the elves, a little Elrond in there. Here's another episode, and then have them tie together in the last season. Because the jumping about, like, I'll finally get interested in something, and then they'll like jump me over like to the next thing.
I don't know if the scenes are longer in this show than they were in Game of Thrones, because Game of Thrones did this, but much more effectively.
Yeah.
Especially in the first couple seasons of Game of Thrones. I don't know if the scenes are longer or if it's just the scenes are not engaging enough, but it just feels like we are at, like, watching certain people do nothing forever. And I'm like, I just want to know what Galadriel is doing.
Well, from what you told me in season 2, she and Sauron don't even see each other again till that last episode. So I'm going to have to slog through all that crap because those are the 2 characters that I care about the most.
You're going to keep watching, though? You were not put off enough that you don't want to watch the rest, see it through?
I'm going to keep watching. I think that I'm very interested in Galadriel's story. But I think you have to bring her husband in for season 3 because apparently, according to the books, she's technically married during this timeline, and she's like maybe assumed that like her husband died or something. I don't know.
I think if I'm a writer of this show, you can do some really interesting things with that. You can, with what the relationship they've now developed between her and Sauron.
Am I saying it right? Is it Sauron or Sauron?
Sauron.
Sauron.
Was
I saying it wrong earlier? Or was I saying
I don't
Sauron?
know. Everybody,
I Appalachian
listen,
it.
people
It's
say
okay.
Sauron. People say Sauron. It's fine. With the relationship they've already got between those two characters, bringing him back in and saying, oh yeah, by the way, they've already been married for like 500 years.
What's the
Could be
other
interesting.
evil wizard's name?
Saruman.
Okay, so I'm just going to say this. With the guy that we know that's Gandalf, the young version of this, I feel like he looks more like that one. He looks more like Count Dooku, right? Who played Saruman.
Interestingly enough, there is a
theory.
dark white-dressed wizard in season 2.
Okay.
But I don't think they gave him a name yet. So, no, this is... No, spoiler alert, at the end of the season 2, it's Gandalf.
Okay.
It is Gandalf.
All right.
Young Gandalf.
Can you think of any other shows?
Did we talk about Dancing with the Stars?
We did not. Now, when you guys listen to this episode, since we're late, somebody would have already been voted off. But we had this has been the week before. I'm like blanking out on who even went home. Reggie.
It's Reggie and the other older
and
guy.
Eric.
And
yeah,
Eric,
the two old men went home. Please make a golden season, you guys, because my heart can't take it anymore. Oh, I just remembered now. Gene Simmons, worst guest judge I've ever seen on the show. He was sexist. He was creepy. He was weird. We knew the vibe was going to be off when he hit on Whitney immediately in the first dance, and she seemed very uncomfortable. And then it just got worse. And then he gives Jen a 7.
He gives out really weird scores.
But was it weird when you look at
No, it wasn't.
the way
But
he graded?
I'm not going to talk. I'm not going to get into it. But there was definitely specifically a pattern. Yes, there was specifically a pattern to his scoring. It was strange.
Phaedra already caught him out for that.
I always thought that the guest judges kind of had an understanding that they had to stay within a plus or minus of the regular judges. That apparently isn't the case. They can apparently just give out whatever they want.
Because the only reason his 10 got taken away from Brooks, who he clearly only gave it because he thinks she's hot. Let's call it what it is. It wasn't a terrible dance, but not worthy of the first 10 of the season. I guess he had keyed in a 9.
Yeah.
And that has happened before on the show to the regular. I think it happened to Bruno one time. So that is a thing. There's a lot of new people to the Dancing with the Stars fandom that are like, oh my gosh, when does this happen? We're like, that has happened before. But yeah, it's just him giving Jen a 7 sent me. Because Jen and Sasha's dance was my favorite dance of the night. Those knee walks that they did for that paso,
yeah, that was
amazing.
Great. That was great.
So good. Jen is really coming along to be a really good dancer. Then he gives Gene Simmons gives Phaedra a 5. Are you kidding me?
It was weird. It was weird.
It was a weird, annoying night. I don't know who's going to go tonight. If I had my pick, I want Brooks and Gleb out of there. I'm not being a hater. They're both beautiful, gorgeous-looking people. But you know what? The showmance isn't doing it for me, and they just... I think, of the crew that's left, I think personally they're the weakest.
I agree. Is it just one elimination tonight?
It's just one elimination tonight.
Okay, good.
Or not tonight when you hear this as our listeners. So maybe I guess we'll find out if we were right. We can talk about that next time. I do, however, I have predicted who I think is going to win the season. I think that Joey, the Bachelor Joey, is going to win.
I can see that.
While I think Chandler is the best dancer technically, I think she might suffer the classic Disney curse, so to speak. And he just seems very well liked by a lot of people. He's definitely is the most like Bachelor, and he can move. He's getting better each week.
That's the thing. Is he's good. Not okay. He is good.
Good, yeah.
And this is 3 weeks, 4 weeks in. He is good.
Yeah.
And he's got the votes. He is a threat. A big-time threat.
Absolutely.
That I didn't see coming, but now that you've seen him dance enough to see that he is good, yeah, he's going to be a problem for Chandler, for sure.
Yeah. I almost worry that Chandler could be a surprise elimination. I think if she gets eliminated before the finals, they got to bring the judges' save back next season because that would be a travesty.
I agree.
All right. And so since we can't really think of any more shows that we've watched and we're completely blanking, do you just want to go ahead and wrap this up?
Yeah, I think that works. So we're sorry we're a little late this week, but life.
You should see us in a crowd. Thanks for listening to this episode of We Watch TV, a podcast about the TV shows we watch. You can find more from Hope and Daniel on Instagram at We Watch TV Podcast. Drop us a line if you like the show, have a question, or a recommendation. You can find Hope on Twitter at Lil Runner and Daniel on Twitter at The Real Hobo Dan. Music for today's podcast was provided by Your Tunes from Pixabay. Artwork was created using the AI program Midjourney with prompts written by Daniel.